welcome back, dear students. We are still in the chapter number 4, and so far we have discussed lots of things regarding the natural vegetation, and also we have discussed how much important this chapter is from the examination point of view. As we are moving towards the end of this chapter, today we are going to discuss about, along with the natural vegetation conservation, that is a forest conservation, what type of initiatives and the ventures government is initiating, and that we will briefly discuss in this video. We have already learnt that government of India has a national forest policy, and that is amended time to time. In that, few techniques and the few ventures that can be combined by the government and the local people are mentioned there, and that we are going to discuss right now. So hopefully when you will learn, you will also understand how we can try to cope up with that particular percentage. Let's take a look at. India has launched the forest policy in 1952. It's a special constitution part, like a constitutional part, which is only in order to protect the forest, and that was launched in 1952, and this is called as National Forest Policy, and that is renewed time to time. In 1988 it is renewed, and few more clauses have been added in that, and the main principle of this policy is to have protection, then conservation and development of forest, and the objectives are given below here. The first objective is maintenance of environment stability. We need to maintain the ecological balance. That's the first aim and the objective of this policy. The conservation of natural heritage, in the sense we have got lots of natural vegetations available in India, that's called as a flora and fauna, and that is the duty of the people in India and also the government to protect it, because some of the species of the trees can only be found in India itself. So that's a natural heritage, we need to conserve it. Check the denudation and soil erosions. Most importantly, if the trees are not available, definitely the soil erosion will take place at a great quantity. So if you plant the trees, definitely we can try to save the soil erosion too. Conservation of forest by means of afforestation, reforestation and social forestry programs. By any means we need to conserve the forest, so that can be by afforestations, plant more and more trees. Reforestation means if you cut one tree, there you need to plant 2 trees. And social forestry programs for the awareness of the people, so people also can take an initiative in that. Check on extension of sand dunes in desert areas and along the coastal tracts. The Rajasthan, Gujarat and some parts of Punjab areas are covered with the sand, and now this sand is mostly blown with the wind, and that also covers the fertile land. So slowly fertile land also being converted in desert. So along with the tracts, if you plant more and more trees, definitely we can try to stop the speed of the wind and also spreading of desert. That is also the important aim. It is mentioned in the national policy. There is a forest research institute located at Dehradun, and it is the main center where there are lots of researches are being done on how to sustain the forest and also on the forest products. And there are also other states in India that have their own forestry departments, and they also try to do the same work in order to protect the natural vegetation in that particular state. So this is how the policy has been working in India. That the first technique the government initiated, that is called as social forestry, and it is also a good initiative. What does it mean? Social forestry was an initiative started by the government of India in 1976. The sole aim of this one was to complete the need of the people without having lots of burden on the forest, and it was a joint venture of people and the government. So here rural people along with the government can focus on how we can effectively manage and conserve the natural resources without being depleted in a great quantity. So here government wanted the local people to involve in that. This technique is called as social forestry. So some objectives have been set up for that and the aims. What are the aims and objectives? The first one, remove the pressure from the forest. Most of the people are dependent on the forest, especially in rural areas. Wood for fuel, some food and the medicines they collect from the forest, and for that they destroy the forest in a large quantity. So remove that burden from the forest, the first step. Second, utilize the vacant and fallow place. Wherever there is an empty place or infertile land, this land can be brought under the forest. So government will help to the people. Next one, plant the trees along with the borders of the fields, alongside of the railway lines, alongside of the roads and the rivers with the government initiative. Next one, for common man, especially in rural areas, they need a lots of timber for fuel, then fodder they want for cattle. Thereby they will not be dependent on the forest in order to bring this material, so they can sustain this material on the fallow land or on the border of their land. Providing efficient conservation of soil and water, government will help them to try to save the water and soil. And last one, developing the local cottage industries, providing the employment opportunities to the local people. Now cottage industries are the industries that are run by only the families, just like we can see the cotton, mastics, some handicrafts, like that works or the industries are called as cotton industry. So government will provide them some funds, some schemes will be launched, so people will take initiative in that and automatically they will try to reduce the burden from the forest. These are some of the aims have been discussed thoroughly in that. Let's check it out. What are the other factors are classified of social forestry? Various schemes have been classified. Take a look at the classification. So it is very easy to implement these schemes according to the areas. The first one in that is farm forestry. Second, community forestry. Third, extension forestry. And fourth one, agroforestry. So these are some of the definitions which can be asked in the exam. So try to understand this concept. For short notes and for definitions, these are important ones. The first one, farm forestry. In this method or in this category, government encourage the people, especially the farmer, to plant the trees along the border of their field or in their field. So what the people can do, they can use the fodder for their cattle from that farm. Even that wood they can use for timber and other purpose. So they will not go into the forest to cut the trees for such kind of a purposes. So it is an individual based, and here government help to the people to take use of this scheme and try to solve your needs. These plants, once it is planted, also gives the shade to their crops. That is called as farm forestry. Second comes community forestry. This is an enlarged scheme in that one community in the rural area has been given the responsibility to plant the trees. So altogether, many people can collectively give the land, and there government will provide them the seeds which will grow very fastest, and here they can cultivate the trees. And here after planting, it is the sole responsibility of the community to take care of the forest to grow properly. Government provides the seeds and fertilizers, and it is solely dependent on the people. In the recent year, you can just try to understand that in the recent past 20 to 25 years, Lots of reforestation has been done by the government because of this scheme. Government provides free of cost seeds and fertilizers to the people. The people need to give their lands and they need to take care of the plants. And it is a joint venture by the government, but it should be managed by the community and local people. But it is mostly dependent on few factors, and these factors are: first, the type of land selected by the villagers. If the land is very infertile, it's not that use. Land should be optimum, it should not be the less one. Second, local ecosystem. What type of local ecosystem is there? Accordingly, the plant should be grown, so they need to have like that structure for that. Land ownership. As it is a community forestry, there may be the refers to the different owners, there may be the problem of land ownership. Next, economic infrastructure of the village. The villages are good enough to provide the economic help when they are sustaining the forest. So these are the factors may affect to the community forestry. Next, extension forestry. In that, the forest area is being extended. So where it can be extended? Wherever there is a possibility. The first one, we can try to enlarge and grow the trees, especially on the wasteland. So we can enlarge the forest areas, and that is onto the common land which belongs to the villagers. And here the quick growing seeds of the plants, just like eucalyptus, can be planted at the same time alongside of the roads, nearby the canals or the railway lines. The trees can be planted on a large extent, so we can have the ecological balance and we can improve the microclimates of that village area. And also we can protect the canal banks, because these canal banks can be eroded during the floods, so we can protect them. Check the soil erosion, because lots of trees are there, so they will try to stop the or minimize the soil erosions. They will check the water logging also. So these are the facilities we can get it once we plant the trees in the extension forestry. Even the trees planted here worked as sheet belts and the windbreakers. So this is the example or the importance of extension forestry. Last classification, agroforestry. Look at the word agro and forestry, mixture of two terms, forestry and agriculture. In these, basically the main focus is on land management system, and here in the land management, crops are also grown, plus the trees are grown for the livestock as a fodder. And here this type of trees will improve the productivity and sustainability of the forest. Then what are the objectives we can see in agroforestry? The first one, as usual, reduce the burden on natural forest, use artificial forest. Check the soil erosion. Wherever possible, we can try to stop it to maintain the natural fertility of the soil. And it is basically one, we need to maintain the fertility of the soil naturally. Maintain ecological balance. And the last one, make the best use of available resources. Then advantages. Once we initiate agroforestry, what are its advantages? The advantage is, the first one we have long-term economic stability, because once you planted the trees in that, you can have a long-term use of that trees for your benefits, for the community and for the village also. It provides you year-round production, because once you plant the trees, it will give the production to you year by year. We can get the firewood, we can get the animal fire, fodder and the construction material according to our choice. Increases the soil fertility, and here we can try to stop the and reduce the pollution and also the global warming. These are the effects mostly we can see by agroforestry. Now, considering these all four classifications and the social forestry, there are few problems can be faced by this kind of programs. What are those problems? The first one, uncertainty of coordination among government departments, because government departments are what? Red tapeism. So there may be some problems. These departments may not have proper coordination, so these schemes may not work in an effective way. Second, lack of information on existing land, demand of fuel, wood and fodder. how much quantity of fodder, food, and the fuel for rural people we required. We do not have the data particularly for that, and because of that it takes a lots of problem to cover it out, how much we need and how much we should plant it. And the last one, lack of awareness among the villagers about the government plans. Government has lots of plans, but these plans are not reaching to the people, so they are not aware about this thing, so it is very difficult to implement such kind of schemes. That's all about this chapter, and we have thoroughly discussed about the types of forest, to the importance and the government initiatives for the conservation of forest. I hope that everything is clear to you. Try to use the points that have been discussed through these online classes and the videos. Any kind of a doubt, you can try to connect through the WhatsApp and try to complete the exercise in the notebook. Thanks a lot for watching. See you soon in the next video with the next new lesson. Do take care of yourself. Thank you.